The seventh maid left at dawn, a small suitcase wheeling down the marble hall like a verdict. She didn't wait for the driver. She didn't wait for the last paycheck. She simply muttered, "I can't," and fled the Hale mansion as if the house itself had teeth. In the nursery window above, a pale face watched from behind a curtain of gold hair. The millionaire's daughter, Lily, 6 years old and silent since her mother's accident, pressed her palm to the glass, then disappeared. Before we go further, I'm going to ask you a favor, friends of Whispers of Kindness. If this opening has your heart leaning in, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Tell me in the comments what you think makes a child open up. Rules, routine, or relentless love? Your words help stories like this reach others who might need them. By noon, Adam Hale, who could buy an airline, a vineyard, and a Silicon Valley startup in the span of a fiscal quarter, stood in the kitchen, with his tie loosened, staring at a broken porcelain tea set. The tea set had been smashed at 10:03 a.m., on purpose during Lily's attack on gravity and fragile things. The nanny agency had said they had no one left. Your daughter is spirited, the director had said carefully, which was the agency version of sir. Your child is scaring our entire roster. Post the position again, Adam told his assistant. Offered triple. Vet them for patience. Patience? The assistant echoed. And a strong back, Adam added, eyeing the flour Lily had dumped like confetti across the black stone counters. And the ability to dodge flying objects. At 2 o'clock the doorbell rang. The woman who stepped in had eyes. The calm brown of tea cooled in a cup. You forgot to drink. She wore a plain blue dress and carried no drama. Only a canvas tote with a notebook and a wrapped loaf of bread. I'm Mara, she said, extending a hand. You posted for a live-in maid who's not afraid of mess. I read the ad twice. I'm not. You'll be the 8th, Adam said, half plea, half warning. 8th is my lucky number, she said, and smiled as if luck was something you could stir with a spoon. Mara's references were not glamorous. She had worked at a community shelter, a hospice kitchen, a daycare that did not survive the pandemic. Her resume read like a list of places people go. When life has fractured and they need someone to tape it back together long enough to breathe. I'm not a nurse, she said, or a therapist or a miracle worker. But I know how to sit with storms. The storms here are small and fast and throw dolls, Adam said. And sometimes scissors. Mara nodded. Then we lock up the scissors. She said it so simply that Adam blinked. He was used to plans drawn on glass walls with dry erase markers. He was less used to solutions that started with a key in a cabinet. The first time Lily saw Mara, she stopped in the doorway, as if the air had thickened. The girl wore a pink tulle skirt and carried a wooden block like a talisman. Her eyes were a startling blue that could go as cold as a winter lake in an instant. She did not say hello. She lifted the block. It left her hand like a thrown promise, aimed cleanly at Mara's shoulder. Mara did not flinch. She let the block hit, let the sting travel her arm, then crouched to the child's eye level. That had good speed, she said softly. Do you aim at hearts or walls? Lily's mouth tightened. She snatched another block. This time, Mara lifted a mixing bowl and caught it with a satisfying clack. She murmured, almost to herself. You pick the heavy ones. You like to be sure. Something in Lily's gaze wavered. Not surrender. Not recognition, but surprise. People had been startled by her. No one had let her be the starter. That evening, Mara cooked. She cooked not like a television chef, but like a grandmother who knew how to invite hunger to the table. She opened her tote and unwrapped the loaf of bread. From my neighbor, she said. She bakes when she can't sleep. She made soup that smelled like balance, garlic, onion, carrot, a whisper of rosemary. She arranged 3 bowls. Adam ate like a man who had forgotten what not rush tasted like. Lily stood in the doorway with her arms crossed, an ancient posture in a small body. Try the broth, Mara said without looking up. Just the spoon. If you hate it, I'll bring you something else. Lily approached with the wary slowness of a street cat. She dipped the spoon, tasted, blinked, and pretending not to be impressed, took 2 more sips. Then she retreated, expression fortified, as if pleasure was a secret she wasn't ready to confess. On the second morning, the house woke to the clatter of panic. Lily had climbed onto a high shelf in her mother's closet, where the perfume bottle still kept a stubborn vigil. The staff stood below, hands uplifted, begging. Come down, sweetheart. Careful. Don't move. The girl swung her leg in defiance, knocking down a scarf that still smelled like summer rain. Mara did not plead. She sat on the carpet and began to fold the fallen scarves into neat squares. I'm building a path, she told the air, not looking at Lily. If someone were lost and didn't remember where the floor was, a path might help. Lily shifted, curious in spite of herself. Mara hummed as she folded, the kind of sound a mother makes when she sways a crying baby in a grocery store aisle. After a minute, 10 neat squares formed a soft ladder from the shelf's edge to the carpet. If your feet get tired, they can rest here, Mara said. Scarves are gentle. Lily stared. Then, with the mute authority of a sovereign, she set her bare foot on the first scarf. 1 step, 2, 3. She reached the carpet and kept walking. Past the staff, past Adam's held breath. Straight through the door as if she had invented gravity and was now bored of it. Mara remained on the floor, humming, folding a final scarf into a pillow-sized square. Later, when Adam tried to thank her, she said only, children are brave. We just forget to show them the path. But the house had more than tantrums and high shelves to contend with. Challenges stacked like dishes, paparazzi camping outside the gates, a grandmother who disapproved of help who talks like family, an estate manager who wanted rules laminated and taped to every door. There was the staff's simmering skepticism. This would be like the others. Mara would leave when the first broken glass cut too deep. There were Adam's own hours, devoured by meetings about everything except the person who needed him most. And there was the oldest challenge, the one that sat in Lily's chest, grief as heavy as a wet coat she couldn't take off because no one had taught her the buttons. Mara began with little rituals. Each morning she and Lily placed one polished pebble in a glass jar when the day began without shouting. Pebble by pebble, the jar sang. Each afternoon, they baked, a simple recipe that required small hands to stir and patience to wait for sugar to dissolve into butter. Bubbles mean we're close, Mara would say, watching the mixture. Bubbles mean the sweet is finding the warm. At night, she would bring the jar to Adam's office. We had 4 bubbles today, she'd report, and 3 pebbles, and one almost cry that turned into a deep breath. These were metrics even a billionaire could learn to measure. Still, there were setbacks hard enough to rattle the new scaffolding. One afternoon, during a thunderstorm, Lily disappeared. The power blinked, the alarms chimed, and the house became a maze. Staff scattered like frantic bees. Adam's voice cracked as he called his daughter's name. Mara found her under the grand piano, hugging the wooden leg as if it were a tree that could keep lightning out. The child's breath came in sharp, fast pulls, the beginnings of an asthma attack that fear can summon into a crowd. Mara lay on the rug beside her. This piano has a heartbeat, she whispered. Do you hear it? The strings hum when the thunder talks. Let's hum back. She placed Lily's hand on the vibrating panel and hummed low and steady. She hummed until Lily's breathing matched the hum, until the child's clenched jaw softened, until thunder was just a loud neighbor and not a monster that breaks windows with its hands. When the storm passed, Adam found them both asleep, the piano keeping its own quiet watch. You knew about the asthma? He asked later, shaken. I knew about fear, Mara said. It borrows any doorway it can. As the weeks wove themselves into something like routine, the agency called to ask if there had been any incidents, any resignations, any fresh disasters. She's still here? The director asked, incredulous. She's still here, Adam said, and heard the relief in his own voice as if from far away. There were other battles. The grandmother, Leonora Hale, arrived in a wave of perfume and opinions. She did not approve of jar pebbles or humming under pianos, or maids who spoke to millionaires as if they were neighbors over a fence. Structure, Leonora declared, tapping her ring against a crystal glass. Discipline. This child requires professionals. Professionals have tried, Adam said gently. Then try a stricter one, Leonora snapped. Children must be bent before they break. Mara spoke quietly. Children don't need bending. They need rooms large enough for their shadows. Leonora's eyes flashed. You are not paid to be a poet. No, Mara said, calm as a lake. I am paid to clean, and to stay, and to love without making a spectacle of it. She lifted her chin a fraction. I will also make tea. To everyone's surprise, Leonora stayed for tea. She watched as Lily placed a pebble in the jar for no shouting before noon. She watched as Mara served the older woman first, a flower of steam rising from the cup. In the old woman's gaze, a crack appeared, thin as a hair, but real. She did not approve, but she began to witness. The mansion staff, too, altered their orbit. The estate manager, Mr. Green, who had laminated so many rules, he could have wallpapered the staff hallway with them, noticed that Mara's chalkboard list contained 5 items only. Listen. Lock sharp things. Laugh when you can. Rest when you must. Try again tomorrow. That's not a management plan, he grumbled. But when Lily started bringing him drawings of tulips with crooked stems, he taped them to his office door with a tenderness he would deny if asked. The real test came with the charity gala Adam hosted every year in his late wife's honor. It was the Hale event, starred on society calendars. Paparazzi magnets humming with flashbulbs. Adam didn't want to hold it. It's too soon for Lily, he told Mara. Too much noise. Too many faces pretending to know us. Then let her choose her place, Mara said. A corner with a book. A seat near the kitchen door where the air moves. And an exit strategy. The night of the gala, Lily wore a dress that made her look like a sigh edged with lace. She clutched a small blue book, The Velveteen Rabbit, which she pretended to read when the room became too loud. Mara stationed herself near the service hallway, where she could roll pastries like tiny acts of comfort and keep an eye on the girl. For an hour the plan worked. Lily sat, observed, retreated into the book, sipped water, nibbled bread like a sparrow. Adam watched from across the room, gratitude threaded with fear. He understood stocks and mergers. He did not understand the arithmetic of his daughter's quiet. Then a journalist made a mistake that felt purposeful. She approached Lily with a microphone disguised as conversation. "Darling, are you sad without your mommy?" she cooed, voice sugared and predatory. "Do you cry at night? Do you think your father is doing his best?" The questions were a match dropped in dry grass. Lily's eyes went flat. The book slid to the floor. She stood, but she was not standing in the ballroom. She was standing in the wrecked courtyard of her private storm. She did what frightened children do when cornered. She broke something. A tower of champagne flutes trembled, toppled, shattered in a rain of crystal that sounded like a chandelier dying. The room gasped. The journalist stepped back, hands dramatically lifted as if she had been the victim. Cameras shifted like wolves scenting blood. Mara moved like a tuned instrument. She reached Lily in 3 strides and knelt, not caring that sparkling wine soaked her dress. With wet hands, she touched the child's face. "In or out?" she asked. Lily's lips trembled. "Out," she whispered, the first word she had spoken in weeks. Mara's eyes shimmered, but her voice stayed steady. "Good choice." She lifted the child and carried her through the service hallway, past the kitchen where cooks pretended not to see because they understood triage. Adam followed, heart stamping. In the quiet of the pantries, Lily's sobs unraveled. She cried like someone who had been holding a door shut against a flood and finally stepped aside. Mara held her until the storm spent itself. Adam watched, helpless and reverent. When Lily hiccuped herself into silence, Mara spoke. "Pictures don't own you," she told the child. "Questions don't own you. You get to say no. You get to leave." "Will they be mad?" Lily asked, muffled in Mara's shoulder. "They'll be fine. They'll talk about weather and money like they always do," Mara said. "You and I will have ice cream in the laundry. Room and peel the labels off the jars because we like the way the glue feels when it rolls." In the days after the gala, the story the city told was not of a ruined tower of glass, but of a millionaire who had carried his daughter out of a ballroom because nothing mattered more. The truth, that it had been Mara's arms, Mara's steadiness, Mara's permission to choose, was known in the house, and that was enough. Adam asked the journalist to leave and banned her publication from future events. He learned that certain bridges could burn without smoke you needed to run from. One morning, 3 months into Mara's stay, Lily woke early. She walked into the kitchen where Mara sat with a cup of tea, watching the window as if expecting a dignified sunrise. The child climbed onto Mara's lap and pressed her ear to the woman's chest. "What do you hear?" Mara asked. "Your drum," Lily said. "It keeps the monsters in the attic." Mara smiled into Lily's hair. "Monsters don't like rhythm. It's too predictable." "Did you know my mommy played the piano?" Lily asked suddenly. "I did," Mara said. "Your father told me. And your hands do little dances when you're thinking, like hers did." "Will you come hear me play?" "In the music room?" Lily's eyes were brave and fragile at once. The way a new leaf is both soft and certain. "Of course," Mara said, standing slowly as if not to startle a deer. They walked, hand in hand, down the hall to the room that had been locked since the funeral. Adam trailed them, afraid to breathe too loudly. The key turned. Dust motes lifted like tiny prayers. Lily climbed onto the bench. She placed her hands on the keys as if greeting old friends. She'd been avoiding for fear of what they might remember. She pressed one note, tentative, thin. Then another, broader. A melody wandered out, simple and almost childlike, and the house listened. And the monsters in the attic, if there were any, packed their suitcases and looked for less hospitable attics to haunt. Adam cried. He did it quietly and with dignity, but he cried. He sat beside Mara in the doorway and did not care if anyone saw the salt on his face. He thought of the night he'd slept on Lily's floor after the accident, terrified that if he closed his eyes, she would vanish. He thought of how money can purchase almost everything except a child's trust. He thought of the word impossible, how people use it too easily, how it breaks under the weight of patience. There were still hard days. Grief does not vacate just because the piano is unlocked. Lily sometimes reverted to stone and silence, sometimes hurled a shoe, sometimes hid in the pantry and ate sugar cubes until her stomach hurt. Leonora sometimes sniffed at the jar of pebbles, as if it were unseemly to count victories that, small, Mr. Green still had a laminator problem. But there were also mornings where Lily carried 2 cups of tea, one for Mara, one for her father, and said, "We should drink by the window because it makes the day slow down." There were afternoons when Adam left a boardroom early and learned to read. The Velveteen Rabbit in a voice that made Lily giggle at the sad parts and sigh at the hopeful ones. There were nights when Mara stood alone on the back steps, letting the cool air rinse the day off her, and felt a kind of blessed tired that comes from doing work that matters. The kind you can sleep inside like a safe house. The day Lily laughed, really laughed. The laugh that is a cousin to the first cry. Mara baked a cake with too much frosting. They ate it with their fingers and did not apologize. Adam took a picture, not for the world, but for the drawer in his desk labeled Reasons. He wrote Mara a bonus check that was large and corporate, terms and tiny compared to what she had given. She used part of it to buy a second-hand bicycle with a basket. She and Lily rode around the back lawn at dusk, fearless in the way people are when someone runs beside them, steadying the handlebars until they learned their own balance. Eventually, the nanny agency called again. "We heard your maid has lasted," the director said, astonishment rippling through the line. "Would you be willing to share how?" Adam looked out the window at the lawn where Lily was chasing a dog she hadn't yet convinced to love her, and Mara was showing the dog how to be convinced. "We learned to last," he said. "All of us." "If you're still here, if your chest feels a little warmer, do me one more. Kindness. For whispers of kindness, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Tell me in the comments what part of this journey spoke to you. The jar of pebbles, the humming under the piano, the moment a child chose out. Your reflections keep this channel alive, and someone scrolling in the dark might find the light because you took a second to write. And here's the message I hope the story leaves behind. The thread I want to tie around your wrist so you don't forget. What looks impossible from a distance often dissolves up close when met with consistent presence. Ordinary rituals and love that doesn't announce itself. You don't need magic words or money gilding your efforts. You need to show up. You need to lock the scissors. Fold the scarves, hum during storms. Let the pebbles gather one by one. Be willing to carry a small person out of a ballroom or into a music room and stand watch while they relearn the notes of their own. Courage. Stay long enough, and the heart finds a way to become real again.